Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Did you know that last week we either forgot to do the intro, and by we I mean I, or I edited it out somehow.
It's okay.
While I was distracted editing over at Devin and Janet's house.
It's like we didn't introduce ourselves?
No.
Well, that's fine.
I didn't realize until I was like 10 minutes into the transcript, and I was like, this is weird even for us.
Wait.
And then I was like, hold on. We just didn't, apparently.
Well, we had a lot to talk about last episode.
We sure
we
did.
We really got into some intense stuff.
I don't know if we said anything that made sense or was worthwhile, but we sure did say it.
Quality of the podcast to be determined. Quantity of the podcast.
171 episodes of nonsense.
Okay, let's be sure to do the intro this time.
Yeah, I was gonna try. This is Everybody Hates Rand. It's your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I know we weren't very friendly last time, but usually we're more friendly.
Yeah.
I'm Emily Jushaw.
I am Sally Goodger.
And hey, cool cats.
Hey, cool kids.
We're in Abu Dar now. You know what that means? Fantasy New Orleans? Or maybe Fantasy Venice. It's hard to sort of tell.
I know, there's kind of a
conglomerate, I guess.
Conglomerate.
This is our brand now, is not good doing words good.
These two fucking idiots can't even read!
Yeah, that explains why we're 7 books into a Wheel of Time podcast.
Yeah, Abu Dar, as I find Abu Dar as a culture really fascinating. You get this, conglomerate of real world markers, for lack of a better term, of, New Orleans, of Venice, of Carnival, sort of generally, which crosses a lot of different cultures, including, South American and Caribbean.
The fact that it's near the sea just sort of brings to mind a lot of port cities that have this mesh of cultures. Abu Dar has its own distinct culture, but we see within Abu Dar, I feel like, and perhaps this also has to do with where we are at within the series, we are seeing a greater mesh of cultures within the city. We're interacting really strongly with the sea folk. Also, our just main cast of characters has been fleshed out to include more quote-unquote people of color. And by that, I mean people who are not... Oh, we'll talk about Aviendha.
Can't wait.
But also, like, the Terrans.
That's true.
Who have browner skin, we are told, than most of our Two Rivers folks.
Yeah, and Alshon, his pointy little beard.
Yeah, and also Julin and their, like, weird class warfare.
Yeah. And I'm like, how am I on the nobleman's side in this class warfare?
Boy, I know. He's I fucking hate Julin. And I'm like, God, me too, man.
Damn it.
It's not because he's poor or anything. It's just because he's a fucking insufferable character.
I know. He, rolls in with his little red cap. And is like, look at how annoying I am.
Julin is here for 2 reasons. To dispense occasional information that almost literally any other character could dispense.
Yeah.
And to make occasional remarks reminding us that he had a thing with the former panarch of Terabon, Amathera, so that when she comes back and they strike up a romance, it won't take us by surprise. Which I do sort of admire because Robert Jordan didn't bother to do that with most of his romances.
Yeah, he's like...
Tom and Moiraine come out of fucking nowhere.
What? I know, he shows up to be like, well, this happened. And I'm like, why couldn't Tom tell me this?
Where's Tom, Julian?
Okay, before we get to the lads, or anything else to say about Abu Dar in general?
Well, less Abu Dar, but more to do with the setting generally. Matt tells us that they have been there a little bit over a month.
Which is...
Yeah, I was trying to wrap my brain around why this timeline is so confusing, because reasonably, to advocate for Robert Jordan here for a minute, although he does, drop book 6 and pick up book 6 with Rand exactly where he left off. He left Matt and Nynaeve and Elayne and Abu Dar before the end of book 6.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think, he left them there and then he went over to Rand, kind of puttering around Kyrian for a while.
Yeah.
So theoretically, it does make sense that we are now picking up with them later, but still within the realm of, do might as well's just happened. But the fact that we've already talked about that, like, we have this weird time thing with Edwene where Moghedien has just barely escaped.
Yeah.
Is just sort of weirding me out.
Yeah, I also... Sorry, my bones really are popping and crunching today, so if
Crunchy Munchy.
I am Crunchy Munchy.
It's me, Crunchy Munchy.
Look at me.
The Court Jester.
Crunchy Munchy can be Matt's Court Jester persona, like a drag persona, but it's your Court Jester persona.
That's good.
I also just don't understand why it has to be, like, a month. Like, okay, Robert Jordan, I get committing to your timelines, that's great. But I don't know why Matt and et al. Have to be in Abu Dar for a month before anything happens. That seems like a really... I don't know. It just creates kind of like a weird dynamic. Like, Matt and Nalshan and company have just been, like, watching horse races for a month because Nynaeve and Elayne won't let them help.
Yeah, Matt's bored out of his fucking gourd.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do. And Nynaeve and Elayne are just sort of doing jack shit.
Yeah.
Apparently they're going into the Rayhad every day and searching for the Bowl of the Winds, but, like...
It feels like they're just stumbling around with a titty in each hand.
It does make a little more sense, though. Like, didn't we at the very beginning of this season talk about how I saw in some Wikipedia article that this book only takes place over the course of, like, 12 days or something?
Yeah, an insanely short amount of time.
An insanely short amount of time. Well, thus far, the timeline has, stuck to that. We were only with Rand and Perrin for less than a day. Mm-hmm. We were with Edwene overnight and into one full day. The only thing, and it makes sense now why I'm like, but they spent so much time in Abu Dar, because apparently they did. They've been there a month already.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense to me, I guess, is that this whole rigmarole with Tylan is going to take place over less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a more extended, I obviously cannot call it a courtship, but in Tylan's point of view, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
with the whole, they meet, she starts forcing him into the palace, refusing him meals, whatever.
Yeah, it's their relationship in, like, the loosest possible meaning of the word.
Yeah.
It feels more drawn out. And that's not to say, like, intense abuse can't happen in a fucking moment,
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be drawn out over any extended period of time. Although, it continues for a while after the end of this book into, I was gonna say book 8, but Matt's not in book 8, into book 9.
Well, theoretically, even if Matt's on screen, that's where it's happening.
Yeah.
So
it's just strange, because it feels like it's all really, I don't know, it just feels really condensed, and, like, Tylan really is like, I'm getting you out of the inn and into the palace in, like, 48 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like, I guess...
What a rat.
I guess I personally don't really have a problem with them being there for a month, although it does beg the logistical question of, really? They've been here a month and haven't done anything?
I guess that's what just annoys me.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. There's no reason for them not to be.
But, like, I appreciate the lived-in quality, sort
Yeah.
of, that Ebudar gives us more than most other cities.
Yes.
Like, it feels like we have to spend so much fucking time in Cairhien before it starts to feel like a city that has a shape and a personality.
Yeah.
Ebudar, right off the bat, really has a personality, which is nice, and, like, the people in it really seem to be well fleshed out, even if they aren't necessarily people I like.
Yeah.
Like, Satala Nan, her relationship with Matt is already this, like, I'm glad that we didn't have to suffer through Matt being his weird self around women with Satala Nan, specifically. They've just, like, already, like, come to their meeting point of their weird maternal friendship.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There are pros and cons, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I think there are more pros. I'm just being picky. I just think it's a little strange.
I mean, it's I guess it's just mostly annoying because it seems like when characters in this series go on a quest up until this point, and I think this is the point where we're about to enter Perrin puttering around, you know, the middle of the continent for books on end.
Yeah.
That particular area. But, like, prior to this, it feels like if people are like, I have a destination in mind, I have a task in hand, they pretty much go and do it.
Yeah.
And so it's a little weird to be picking up, like, after a month of failure.
Yeah, and to just, like, we can go ahead and...
is it indicative of things to come?
Yeah, go ahead and dive in. We're on a boat. And Aviendha is like, hey, we've been fucking around for a month. Maybe we should use the man who has magic luck powers to help us find our thing. And it's like, why didn't you do that on the first day and get the hell out of Dodge?
I fucking hate Matt Cathon. And I'm like, what?
Where's this
And Elayne's like,
from?
damn it, why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, I mean, why didn't you?
Yeah.
You got, like...
It truly is just like... like, nothing's... This scene sends me up the wall so much.
It's just... dummies being dumb for fully so many pages.
Yeah, because Aviendha's just like, maybe we should have Matt and his Taveran powers plus special bonus luck powers help us. And Nynaeve is like, Matt fucking sucks. All he would do is be fucking annoying. And it's like, even if that was true...
Is it not worth it to get out of this fucking place?
Yeah, like, don't you want to fix the weather and, I don't know, accomplish your mission?
Yeah, Nynaeve and Matt suddenly have a very fraught relationship where they did not before.
Yeah.
And the only inciting incident that I can think of is that, like, moment in Egg's office back in book 6 where she kicked him and then he was like, I'm gonna kick you. And I'm like, that... Maybe Robert Jordan didn't write it the way it was intended, but that always came across to me as kind of like a banter moment, you know?
Yeah.
It's just sort of like... That's how they are with each other.
Like, listen, both my brothers are over the age of 30 and I kick them all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just what you do, I feel like, when you have, like, bantery, sibling-esque relationships with people.
For sure.
So, yeah, when they're, like, now they hate each other because Matt said, I'll kick you.
Because you kicked me. And Nynaeve's like, I can't fucking stand this relationship. And also Egg told me to stay away from him, and now I have this whole weird complex with Egg, and it's like, egg complex. Sometimes I hear myself saying egg instead of Edgewing.
I know.
I'm just like, woof.
I transcribed the episode 169. We didn't refer to her by her name a single time.
Yeah, we pretty much aren't anymore.
It's just Egg.
Bizarre.
She has become Egg.
I am Egg. Names have power. I am Egg.
It's her secret wizard name. She can't tell anybody.
Yeah. So, like, that's bizarre.
It's truly just, like, one of those contrived plot points to just make me personally insane. Robert Jordan from the grave is like, ha ha ha, fuck you.
Fuck you. I mean, Robert Jordan... This whole scene with the girls on the boat, we haven't even touched yet on Aviendha's narration.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there. But this whole scene with the girls on the boat, the substance of which is that they are traveling to a sea folk ship. They have just received Egg's message that they cannot return to the Aes Sedai camp with the Bowl of the Winds to use it. So Aviendha, again, with the good ideas, was like, well, what about the sea folk? You've said that they have channelers. They specifically have weather channelers. Wouldn't they be a good option? So everyone was like, damn, Aviendha, that's a great idea. Why don't we just have you be in charge?
What a thought.
I know, but they're like, all right, yeah, we'll go talk to the wind finders, the sea folk who can channel. They happen, I guess, their visit to coincide with the woman who is basically the queen of the sea folk, Nesta, whatever, who is only in this scene, as far as I know, before she gets killed by the Shanshin in the upcoming invasion, and then the whole issue of who the next queen of the sea folk will be is up in the air, and boy, does Robert Jordan want us to remember it.
What if there were fewer secession plot lines? Succession.
If only that were the case. God, I wish that were me.
Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, I feel you. But, so they happen to come across this very formidable woman, and so are unable, I guess, to do their usual method of good cop, bad copping their way into every situation, and suddenly have to actually bargain for this.
Dumb cop and dumber cop is more like it.
You're right.
But it really gets very grating to just be like, I almost said Egg. Elayne and Nynaeve will be like, we are just going to try and bully, yell, and manipulate our way into and out of every situation.
Gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep. That's all they do. Yeah, there's no strategy here.
Yeah.
It's not like... It's frustrating. See, here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing. Robert Jordan is an author who likes to poke fun at his own characters. Mm-hmm. Alright, fair enough. That's a thing some authors do. It's a bit Dickensian.
Yeah.
Which is a little out of style, I think. But whatever. What have you. It sure does seem, though, as though the way he pokes fun at his female characters is a little different than the way he pokes fun at his male characters. When he pokes fun at his male characters, there tend to be genuinely comedic situations, misunderstandings, miscommunications, Matt just kind of having a comedic personality.
Yeah.
When he pokes fun at his female characters, it is to poke fun at their incompetence and to infantilize them. Elayne and Nynaeve, actually, given their skill levels, their world experiences, have no reason to be as incompetent in this scene and in this plot line as they are. Mm-hmm. Nynaeve and Elayne have been out in the world managing, doing their own shit. Not always well, but that was kind of their growth period.
Yeah.
This is round 2, baby. I expect them to have their shit a little bit more together. I want them to walk into Abu Dar and get things done. Because we've already seen them walking around Terabon with their titties in their hands, you know? Almost literally, because Robert Jordan won't let us forget that in different cities, women's tits are out in different ways. In Abu Dar, it's the boob window. Great. Love me a boob window. Don't care, Robert Jordan. You don't need to remind me.
Yeah.
Snap, snap, snap. And with the sea folk, Nynaeve and Elayne are literally our only 2 characters who have been on a sea folk ship for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
They don't need to know this shit up and down, but they should know the basics. You can't walk onto a sea folk ship making demands. There's obviously going to be a bargaining process here that's part of their culture.
You also shouldn't walk into any situation where you hope to gain something by just making demands.
Yes.
That's like I feel like that's like negotiation 101.
They're just like so completely unprepared. There's no discussion ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're just like, we'll just go do this.
Yeah.
And then they make this bargain, which is alluded to without giving us many details for the next few books, that just apparently is very bad. And I presume that Robert Jordan hadn't hammered out the details himself. He just wanted it to be very bad so he could make them look like idiots.
Yeah.
And it's like, to what end?
Yeah.
What possible character growth, narrative growth is here when you have your women characters acting like idiots? You're okay with making Egg a competent character. Is like 1 too much for you, Robert?
Feels like it, doesn't it?
Was her just growth arc way too fast for you? So now you've got to scale back by having Elayne and Nynaeve be total idiots? And like, look, we're not exactly Elayne apologists over here. She is an idiot.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But it's been 7 books of her being an idiot. You're telling me nothing has progressed?
Yeah, Robert also loves to, when it is convenient for him, mention that Elayne was raised by Morgause, who is, up until recent events, presumed to be a really competent leader.
Yes.
And a really competent politician. Like, she won the throne of Andor in the Secession Wars or whatever.
But hey, once again, here's Morgause being made into a fucking toddler by Robert Jordan's inability to write competent women.
There you go.
Show don't tell, Robert.
Yeah, and Robert Jordan will, like, mention these little things about Elayne having learned a lot about politics and the way you deal with people and the way different cultures work, allegedly. Until she is in a situation in which she actually has to apply any of this knowledge, then she is just tabula rasa.
Which, to be fair, is me entering any test. Whether or not I've studied for it. I don't know, man.
We'll see. It's very frustrating.
Are you looking up tabula rasa?
I should have to make sure I used it correctly.
It's blank slate.
Okay, I really got stressed out there for a second. Yeah. So the whole situation is just like 4 total clowns, complete no thoughts, walking onto a boat, being like, we'll just go get an entire culture to do stuff for us. I mean, these are people who enslaved a woman, so maybe they're thinking, we'll just do what we did with Mogadien.
You're so right, bestie. But, like, yeah, what's this fucking clown college arc coming from? Like, is Elayne just on her study abroad to get her degree in tomfoolery? Because that's sure what it feels like. Yeah. I mean, already this feels like a study abroad. I've been here a month and I have mastered Ebudar culture.
Yeah.
I know that Matt could never take soldiers into the Rayhad.
And
They wouldn't find anything. Have you met Matt?
Yeah. Matt figured that out day 1, baby.
Yeah.
And Matt is survival of the fittest 100% of the time. He's like, I will be the fittest because I refuse to die.
Me? I'm gonna outlive all of you out of spite.
Yeah. I'm gonna live to be, like Chris, live to be 118 years old.
Yeah. Matt just turned 20 and he's like, great. 1/6 of my life is complete.
Okay. They really are just, ugh.
Okay, so that's that's one rant. Now let's take a break, have a moment of hilarity. What's something funny? Oh, they do, conclude Aviendha's suggestion to, loop Matt into the situation by saying, okay, why doesn't Birgitte go ask him for help? Yeah. And Birgitte's like, what?
You want me to do what?
You want me to do what? I don't want to do that. And Elayne's like, he hasn't recognized you yet, so he probably won't then. And Birgitte's like, I mean, okay, I know this is just, like, blatant revenge for apparently something bratty Birgitte said about Elayne's ass, which, like, fair enough, okay. But this is going to lead up to the iconic Birgitte and Matt friendship.
Yeah.
So we do have to thank Elayne for that.
It's true.
And we do have to enjoy the moment in which the glorious golden moment when Birgitte comes back from hanging out with Matt and is like, fuck you guys, actually. I'm with this kid. And Elayne's like, oh, how the turntables.
Brigitte's like, I love him, actually. We're getting platonically bro-married.
Yeah. Do you want to come to our wedding?
This kid's lit.
I'm going to be the best man at his wedding to Talmanes.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, Matt.
He's going to be the best man at my wedding to Godal Kane, wherever the fuck he is.
Yeah.
So
wherever that ugly motherfucker is hiding.
So, we do also get some details about the fact that, like, no one has been able to keep it quiet that Birgitte is actually Elayne's warder.
Yeah.
All the other Aes Sedai are pissed as hell about this. All the other warders don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
This is generally the reaction. You do have to appreciate the warders as much as we talked shit about them last time. They're like, woman's gotta do? Sure.
Women, too, can buy into this system of emotional slavery and abuse.
Although, to be fair, Birgitte didn't. We didn't even talk about her last time.
Right. Birgitte did not have a choice.
Which, I think is handled well enough. It's like a life or death situation.
Yeah, of course.
And Burgee has enough of her own issues to deal with, and she is, I think, a much more fleshed out character than most of the warders.
Yeah.
I do find it frustrating that we are not reminded constantly how dangerous and graceful Burgee is, the way we are with all of the male warders.
It's not like she stood there like a lion in the darkness.
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck they say about Lan every second he shows up.
Fucking Winter's heart eyes, or whatever the hell.
They also say that about Samael in the third
They say
chapter.
that about every man who has blue eyes, I swear to God.
I'm like, I've never seen a man with blue eyes that I've even noticed.
No. Sorry. I just did not stare into people's eyes that much.
I'm like, wow.
His eyes are
His Winter's heart eyes.
are
His
like
Winter's fart eyes.
for you to say that. Okay, circle back to the rant that...
Yeah, lay it on us. Lay it on us.
Alright. Aviendha. This is her first, as far as I know, actual narration in the plot. Mm-hmm. It's a little bizarre that she hasn't had a narration up until this point, but I guess in terms of points of view hierarchy, she's usually outranked by Edwin and Rand, with whom she spent the majority of her company.
Yes.
Here, I guess she is more on the level with Elayne, so they are sharing points of view a little more. But this is also our first major point of view from an Ale person. And boy, does Robert Jordan want us to remember it. The Ale are not, in real world terms, people of color. We all know that. We have accepted it. We have moved on. The Ale are, in Wheelie Time terms, an ethnic minority. Mm-hmm. And Robert Jordan has coded them to be not exactly like, but very similar to Native cultures, indigenous cultures, as well as Bedouin Islamic cultures. So there's all that coding. And it's pretty offensive coding because Aviendha sounds like an idiot. Mm-hmm. Aviendha couldn't imagine the ocean. Aviendha didn't know that the ocean was salt water with water that could not be drunk. Mm-hmm. It makes total sense that Aviendha would be freaked out by this amount of water. Okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. The fact that it boggles Aviendha's mind this much that the ocean exists is a little bizarre, because the Ale aren't stupid. I don't know if they're literate or not. I don't know if we've ever seen... Actually, I do know Aviendha's literate because she lent Egg a book.
Yeah.
But, literacy is also not a standard of intelligence that particularly matters. There's oral storytelling, there's oral histories, da-da-da-da-da. The Ale waste, doesn't it come up against the ocean?
Yeah. Or, pretty damn close.
There's a coastline, people.
Yeah, it's not landlocked.
And even in landlocked places, at this level of historical advancement, people know about the ocean. I live in Utah, a landlocked state. I know about the ocean. The first time I saw the ocean, I was like, oh, rad, the ocean. I've heard of this.
Yeah. I know what the ocean is. No, I was going to say the same thing. We grew up in literally a landlocked desert, where the largest body of water is the Great Salt Lake, which is...
I don't think I've ever actually been to.
Oh my gosh, we should go to Antelope Island. It's fun.
Okay, great.
We can go horseback riding there if you like horses.
I mean, I know how to ride horses, but...
Sorry, sidebar about Antelope Island, which I'm always like, Antelope Island is a fascinating phrase to say. The Great Salt Lake, one of the largest bodies of salt water besides the ocean. Disgusting. But anyway, I have heard people talk about the ocean. I've read books about the ocean. I have received education about the ocean. All things I would assume Aviendha would receive in some form or another. So the fact that Robert Jordan is the one character trait I'm going to give Aviendha right now is hydrophobia. And it's not even hydrophobia. She's literally she was pulled out of a bunker and is what the fuck?
Yeah, what we've got here is this really infuriatingly offensive sort of, portrayal of Aviendha as though she is Pocahontas being brought to England. Mm-hmm. The native woman being put on display in some levels, the way that people look at her, the way that people regard her. But also she's got this naivete that white people love to ascribe to native cultures. This childishness. Mm-hmm. Childish, that's a word, right?
Yep. Childishness.
This childishness, this, like, innocence, but also this hyper-violence.
Yeah.
And it's all just, like, I mean, if you don't... I don't know how this is just such a racist chapter without actually having, you know, actual race in it. It's just proof that you can make your fantasy world supposedly race-blind and then be racist as hell about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, I don't know.
I don't either, but the analogy of Pocahontas being brought back to England is such a good one, because, like, Aviendha is even in, like, a pretty dress, and one of the sea folk says, "You're not garbed as I expected you to be, girl."
Oh yeah, one of the sea folk immediately begins asking offensive questions about Aviendha's culture. Whether they tie up men during sex, whether they kill all their men.
Yeah.
Which is not just offensive to Aviendha, but is also yet another offensive portrayal of another race, the sea folk.
Yeah.
Presumably the sea folk also have had enough interactions with the Ale, again, coastline. The sea folk are educated people. Like, I know this isn't a world that has progressed to telegrams and telephones yet, but it's not actually that hard to communicate, to have access to books, to have access to other people.
Yeah, it's also just very strange to be like, my seafaring people don't know as much about different cultures. And it's like, your seafaring people are the ones who should have contact with every culture in your world. That's how it works to be a people who go to lots of different places via the ocean.
Like, wouldn't it have been hilarious, though, if the sea folk were like, oh yeah, the Shanshan, we know about that.
You're like, oh yeah, the Shanshan are coming.
The Shanshan? Those guys are bitches.
Yeah.
Good luck, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to, like, nail out all sorts of deals with them.
Yeah.
But, like, woof. Good fucking luck.
Godspeed. Yeah, like, I feel like they should know Shanshan. So, yeah.
That sea's too big for them. It's not too big for the Shanshan, but it's too big for the people who live on boats.
I like Robert Jordan.
I know. I'm on my last nerve with you, motherfucker.
Yeah, so we've got we're presenting two nomadic people who somehow have not gathered any sense of the world. Mm-hmm. Which is just like, dirt, and yet, whatever. You're right. Extremely racist.
That's all I've really got to say about that chapter, I guess.
Yeah.
We then go over to Matt, who's horse racing. Matt, classic, sweaty, with a bunch of guys, in the process of some sort of transaction, monetary transaction, inspecting horses, lamenting his weird fatherhood. These are classic Matt chapter openers.
Yeah.
They're at the horse races. In Ebudar, little boys can be jockeys, which I think was actually a thing back in ye olden days.
Ye olden days.
Matt, of course, likes horse racing because he's a gambler boy who wouldn't. I think he also seems to get a thrill out of it because his luck doesn't really affect it. But this is something that he can rely on his own knowledge to, like, sort of affect. Like, Nalajan's like, are you sure we should be betting on Oliver? And Matt's like, yeah, put all our fucking money on it.
It's such
I've inspected the other horses.
It's such a good scene. Like, the little bookie comes over, and Matt's like, Nalshan, bet on this one. And Nalshan's like, okay. And she just keeps pulling money out of his fucking pockets.
Like Matt's knives. Matt has slowly replaced all his knives with money.
Yeah.
Matt tells us that it's not a big deal if he loses this money because he has what he calls a seed, which is just like his fat wallet, which he can double, treble, immediately multiply whenever he wants, just by walking into an inn and dicing a few times.
Yeah.
This kid, wow.
What is he up to?
It's just such a fascinating portrayal of wealth, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just get a big kick out of Matt being this absolutely class loyal to the working class guy, but he's absolutely rolling in money.
Yeah.
Constantly, through no particular effort of his own, just sort of doing what he loves.
Yeah. Gambling with all his boyfriends.
He is absolutely god of wealth, which is
Yeah.
one of his tropes, one of his archetypes.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it when Matt loses all of his money.
I know.
When he's just like, oh, there goes.
Too bad.
I mean, this hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
He hardly ever loses money, you know? But you're just like, well, Pobody's nerfed.
Pobody's nerfed, on we go.
And now Sean's like,
that's so much
that
money.
was $4 billion.
And that's like, I'm not worried about it.
It's like, yeah, well, billions bummer, you know? I don't know.
Cow a bummer, man.
Cow a bummer.
We'll make it up tomorrow. Yeah, now Sean's all stressed about the race. He's like, I need to impress this girl I like. And that's like, you'll be fine. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Julian comes back and is like, hello. Apparently he and Tom are on sort of watch, trying to keep track of Elayne and Nynaeve. Matt references that there's a problem where none of his watchmen notice the girls leaving. Later we find out that that's because they have learned how to, like, change what they look like through the one power. Blah, 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 blah.
Stupid.
Which, fine, whatever. That's a subplot. But Julian's like, actually, today we just saw them get in a carriage and go to the docks, and they went to a ship, so who knows what that's about. And Matt's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to talk to Tom about it. Fuck off, Julian.
Hey, we hate you,
And
Julian.
Julian's like, fine. Rude. And, like, walks away to never appear again until the next book, I guess. This is one appearance. As the horse race commences, Matt is sort of looking around the crowd and happens to notice a woman who, to him, looks familiar. And he's like, I don't know why she looks familiar. He sort of reminisces about the holes in his memory, which it's sort of rare we get this. Matt just sort of monologuing about what he's lost. He doesn't usually reference it in clear terms, but he tells us, like, he's lost swaths of his childhood.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, the dagger just sort of ate away at my memories, which is such a cool and fascinating visual. He's like, I remember leaving the Two Rivers, don't remember jack shit up until Caitlin. Mm-hmm. It's so fascinating. I don't know. I just love his weird little character arc. But eventually his eye keeps getting drawn to this woman, and eventually he realizes, this is that woman from back in book 1 who tried to kill me and Rand in a stable. Mm-hmm. He's like, got the flashback, all of it. She had a knife that, like, smoked because it was acid or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
What the fuck's she doing here? Meanwhile, in the background, Oliver wins the race, of course.
Yeah.
Matt has his horse eyes. His horse senses. I don't know.
What do your horse eyes see?
Like that, what was that? Who's that lady wearing the horse dress?
Oh, Kim Petras.
Yeah.
That's Matt.
No, that's Abel Cathon.
Oh, you're right. You're so right.
Used horse salesman.
Abel would look great in that dress.
He would, man. Matt starts walking away, and Alshon's like, where are you going? Matt's like, I just saw a lady who tried to kill me, and Alshon's like, okay.
That might as well happen.
Oh, worm.
Oh, worm?
And Matt's like, yeah, get Oliver back to the inn. Bye. And Alshon's like, okay.
Whatever. You ever had a boyfriend just
you ever
like
had a
this?
boyfriend who's just like, yeah, I just saw someone try to kill me. Now, obviously, I'm going to go follow them. Okay.
Like, trying to keep my boyfriend alive is a full-time job.
Whatever. I wash my hands of this. I know Talmanese is going to ask me about it later.
It's fine.
Now, Sean, how many times did you let Matt out of your sight? Almost always, Talmanese. Have you tried to keep that boy? We need one of those leashes. One of those Disneyland kid leashes.
What would Matt's animal on his leash backpack be?
A fox.
You're right. Damn it. Yeah, but Talmanese, Nalshan will drop into the Boyfriendz with a Z.
The group chat.
Group chat. The Boyfriendz.
Lost him again, guys.
Lost him again. They're like, fuck.
Great, well, hope he comes back in one piece. Who knows?
Simply no way.
Simply no way of controlling him. Matt then goes on this escapade through the city of following this woman. It's pretty comedic. Like, at one point she stops and he is like, ugh, and stops at a ring maker's stall. where, of course, he tries on a signet ring that he then can't get off his hand fast enough, so he just, like, dumps a bunch of money and runs.
Yeah.
When he's done. We get, like, a really good description of Ebudar in this little chase sequence.
Yeah.
It's really nice. At one point, Matt loses sight of her and just climbs on this fountain. All the like, naked people fountains in Ebudar. And he describes he's just, like, hanging around this nude woman's waist.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, they're better when they're warm! And Matt's like, fuck off!
Ebudar is just such a rowdy little city.
I know, you gotta love it. Matt eventually kind of loses her. Then he sees her going into a house. He's like to himself, because Matt loves talking to himself. Who the fuck house is that? And in the shadows, a guy behind him is like, oh, that's Carradine's house. And Matt's like, ugh.
Jumps 9 feet in the air.
Like a cat. He's like, excuse me? And this guy, who we are given to understand is Noel, although he like literally disappears as soon as Matt turns his back. I have I want the entire Wheel of Time series from Noel's perspective. What's he been doing the 6 books up till this point?
Just fucking around.
What is he doing now?
In shadows.
Is he also following this dark friend? Is that what he's doing? I don't know. And he's just like, I just keep running into this weird kid.
Yeah, this is now my weird kid.
Yep, might as well adopt him. Anyway, he's like, yeah, that's the White Cloak's house, so whatever, man. And Matt's like, okay. And then, voila, Noel leaves.
Just fucking Matt turns around and he's gone.
And Matt's like, okay. Was sufficiently weird.
The Phantom of the
Does
Opera.
Matt recognize him when he appears in book 9?
No.
Because I was like, surely this is Noel, but then I had to like look it up to make sure I wasn't.
Yeah, he popped up and I'm like, oh, no. But then in the next chapter, the guy mentioned, Carradine mentions someone named Old Cully.
Old Cully.
And I'm like, so which old man is it?
I think isn't Old Cully the Dark Friend lady's Dark Friend master?
Yeah. But I just was like, maybe it's that guy. But no, it's Noel. He's just
what if it was just Old Cully?
just in the street with Matt.
Who knows, man?
Yeah, but no, it's just Jane Farstrider being a fucking nutcase. What else is new?
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
Lives a fun little life, doing whatever he wants.
Next chapter is Carradine's point of view. It is appropriately titled Insects because Robert Jordan wants us to remember that all dark friends are insects. They're just sort of milling about over each other, under each other. Power is constantly shifting. It's incredibly boring. Don't know why we're still doing this. Carradine doesn't really have much to tell us except the name of this assassin lady. Here she goes by Lady Cheyenne. Her real name is Millie Skane. I don't know why we have to remember both of those, but I guess we kind of do. Carradine is sort of here on orders of Pedron Nile. He, of course, doesn't know Pedron Nile's dead yet. Pedron Nile has, this is sort of our first time getting this information explicitly, like, there are White Cloaks maneuvering various mobs of Dragonsworn around the southwestern portion of the continent, just making a huge mess of things, on the assumption that Pedron Nile will one day be able to sweep in and fix it. I don't know why Robert Jordan has presented this scenario, when he was just going to then invade that portion of the continent with the Shanshan. Like, you don't really need both things going on, but whatever. Carradine's whole family at this point has basically been killed off horribly. Samael comes to visit him and is like, sorry, can't fix it. That's what Ishmael set them to do, so can't undo orders, but hopefully I'll be able to keep them from killing you. And Carradine's like, I'm a foul piece of shit. I just care about my own life because I'm evil. And it's like, yes, we get it.
Yeah, I know.
I know, bud. But I know. He's like, Samael, I just saw Macathon through the window. And Samael's like, oh, worm? And Carradine's like, yeah, ain't that weird? And Samael's like, yeah, that's super weird. Probably because he's like, isn't Matt supposed to be directing the armies over at the Elayne border?
He's like,
okay, weird intel, but okay.
Good to know. Good to know.
And Carradine's like, yeah, do you want me to, like, kill him? And Samael's like, no. Which is one of many times one of the Forsaken will just be like, man, just let him live.
Well, what can we possibly do? Kill him? No, I don't think so.
Kill him? Who needs it? Who needs to kill this guy? The guy who will be the general of the armies in the last battle.
Nope.
No,
Let him live.
Yeah, let him do his thing. It's just horse racing, right? Yeah, harmless. Samuel's like, okay, well, what I want you to be doing is looking for this big stash of Angreal, Cyangreal, Terangreal. Basically the same thing that Nynaeve and Elayne are presumably looking for. So, great, now we know they have competition. I sort of assumed that already.
Yeah.
I could have learned this so many other ways, but I had to suffer through a Carradine chapter. At least it was short. Yeah. Mercifully short.
He's so stinky.
Like the lives of everyone in Carradine's family, apparently.
No, God, they described the brutal way his sister dies.
Yeah, Samuel's like, your sister died horribly, but not as horribly as this other guy I saw killed by Murdrel once, and then describes it in detail, and we're like,
what are you doing?
Robert Jordan, I didn't sign up to, like, watch a goddamn snuff film before my eyes when I picked up this book, but okay. Thanks. Next section, are 2 more Matt chapters, which is nice, but you can, well, mostly 2 Matt chapters. There's some other points of view interspersed there. Which we would be looking forward to, but we will embark on the Tylan saga in the next section, so if you're like, oh my gosh, they just ranted so much, it ain't changing anytime soon, pals. It's just gonna be bad for a little while.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little negative, so every time you listen to HR, get yourself a little treat beforehand, and just make it like a little bit of a nicer experience for a few weeks.
There's just gonna be some negativity up in this room tonight. Yeah, well, I've been feeling negative ever since I saw the weird way Rand is standing on the cover of this book.
I know, the cover is truly painful to look at. Why is his arm like that?
Arnold Schwarzenegger arms. I don't understand it.
What is he even doing? Rah!
He's just flexing.
You came to see my biceps?
It's the worst. You should only do Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions.
It wasn't even really supposed to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just went with it. I just went with what was in my heart.
No, that's all you can do.
Thanks.
Okay, that was those chapters. You have anything to add? Okay.
I have said enough.
Aren't we all? Thanks for listening. Thank you to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song, to our patrons on Patreon.
Thanks to our followers on social media and anybody who is buying books through our bookshop link. That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just love you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a sign off?
Yes, more administrative drama. But today, during the team meeting, and it's quite a large, it's like more of, the agency I work for is pretty big. So there's like upwards of 40 to 50 people on this call.
Whoa.
Probably closer to like 40 on this Zoom call. And one of our managers, who has a lot of energy.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Like, he's a nice person, but just a lot of energy, was like, hey, we're going to talk about some technology stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, the IT department is thinking of switching the agency from Gmail to Microsoft Office. And you could just see everybody's faces, like, fall. No. It was like everyone had been shot in the heart all at once. And we were all just like, no.
Crickets.
Yeah. And then the chat starts blowing up. It was really funny. Okay, anyway, that's my dumb sign off.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye, we love you.
Bye.